no ceiling, no crown, no pressure gonna hold me down. No stopping till I break every rule. No limits to what I can do. Nowhere is too far away. No border gonna stand in my way. No wall that I can't break through. No limits to what I can do. No limits, no ceiling, no crown, no pressure gonna hold me down. No stopping till I break every rule. No limits to what I can do. Nowhere is too far away. No border gonna stand in my way. No wall that I can't break through. No limits to what I can do.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is a really special video because we're talking about the maritime industry after a really long time. Yes, I know there's not been a lot of maritime content on this channel for a while now, and that's basically because I haven't really been able to get back to sea and board my next ship. And a lot of you guys have had a lot of questions over the last few months about the merchant navy, about the future of the industry, and you guys have had a lot of repetitive questions as well. So in today's video, we're going to be running down the most commonly asked questions by you guys on this channel about the merchant navy. I'm going to be clearing out your doubts once and for all. So let's not waste any time, let's jump into it. So one of the first few questions you guys always ask me, and that's something that I get asked really often, not only by you guys but also people in my life, which is, have I quit the merchant navy? When is my next ship? Am I even going back to sea or not? And honestly speaking, yes, I am. I definitely am. I have not quit sea. I am definitely a part of the merchant navy even now, and I'm still working for the exact same company that I was working for 6 months ago. The whole point behind why I haven't gone back to sea is, firstly, I did 11.5 months on my last ship, and that's basically because most of the countries in Asia where my ship was trading were closed for crew change, and that basically restricted our crew change and delayed us while we were on board, so it took a while before we could actually get off. I have an entire series on the channel based on my sign-off and what all happened, so do check that out. Since I did 11.5 months, that's equivalent to 2 contracts in 1 year, so I took a little bit of time off. I decided to take like a 3 or 4 month vacation, and I've been home for about 5 months now. But most of you guys who follow this channel and who ask me questions know that I was in quarantine in the month of January, and I was supposed to join a ship in Singapore in the month of February. But because of how strict the regulations are worldwide, and because of how quick they keep changing, and because of the amount of logistics that's required to actually be able to carry out crew change in 2021, even though the company flew me to Singapore, I was unable to board the vessel while I was in Singapore because of some breakdown in communication, and I had to come back. So then they planned me for another ship. I then went back to quarantine in the month of April. As you guys know, the second wave of the COVID pandemic hit India really bad around that time. That's when a lot of countries started strengthening their restrictions on Indians, and crew change got really hard. You can probably see that. You probably heard about this from a lot of marine influencers out there. So crew change has become really hard for a lot of people. But the good news is that we now have vaccination drives all over the cities, especially to seafarers who are essential workers. We can now get vaccines within 4 weeks. I have got my vaccine, and I have been applied for another ship. I've been planned for another ship. I should be back on board by next month. So that's basically the truth about whether I've quit sea or not. No, I haven't. I have been definitely enjoying my vacation. I think a 5-month break gives you a good balance when you've done 11.5 months at sea, because that's 1 year at sea and little less than half a year on land. So it's a good way to keep your balance in life. Okay, so another question that I get asked a lot on the channel is about how quickly can you become captain after joining the merchant navy. And honestly, that is probably one of the toughest questions you guys have ever asked me. Like, how quickly can you become captain? It's really variable. It's basically because there are so many factors that affect or influence your promotion from cadet to captain and your growth from cadet to captain. It's not as simple. Like, being a captain is one of the hardest things in the world. It seems really glamorous, and we have a lot of captains who make videos on YouTube, and of course we all follow them, and they're fantastic, and they are really glamorous to look at. But the work that they do behind the scenes, you just don't get to see it, and you don't understand, and we as people, we don't understand. It's a job filled with responsibility. So to be a captain and to be be in command of a $20 million ship and have cargo that's worth millions or maybe billions on board your vessel and have 21 lives in your hand at all times. It's a lot of responsibility, so it takes a large amount of time and there's so many variables. So in order to answer this question, we're going to run through the general breakdown. Okay, I'm going to give you a ballpark figure, but first let's understand what it takes to become a captain of a ship. You're going to have to do your 1 year of ground training and you're going to come out as a cadet. Now, once you become a cadet, you have to do 18 months at sea or 12 months at sea basis what kind of cadet training you have actually done. So let's go with the higher number. Let's go with 18 months of cadetship at sea. After which it's going to take you about a year on land, attending college, doing your courses before you can actually give your exams to become a second mate on paper, which means you're going to get a second officer's license. And you have to go back to sea as a third officer and sail for anything between 12 months to 18 months as a third mate before you actually get promoted to a second mate. Now, the entire timeline that you're going to spend at sea is 12 to 18 months as a junior officer, but you need 18 months of sea time as a second mate or as a third mate before you can come back to land and actually be eligible for you to do your chief mates completely. Now, your chief mates exams are in two parts. You have phase 1 and phase 2. You can do phase 1 after 9 months of being a junior officer. You can do phase 2 after 18 months, but in general, you have to do 18 months to be able to get a chief mate license in total. So you're going to have to come back and do those exams. Now, if you do them all at once, you could probably do them in just a little bit over a year, and that's if you pass in the first shot. And let me remind you, while the maritime industry seems like you're going to start working at the age of 18 or 19, you're going to start making a lot of money by the age of 21 or 22. Yes, it's true, but that does not mean you're not going to study. You're going to be studying till the age of 30, and the education part, the nautical studies that you do or the engineering studies that you do is crazy tough. It's not so easy for you to actually just go and pass those exams. And then you get back to sea, sail for another 12 months as a second mate or as a chief mate, depending on what rank you're actually at, before you're eligible to come back and do your captain's exams. Basically, you need those 12 months with a chief mate license. You come back, you do your captain's exams, and that takes about 3 to 4 months, maybe 5 months in certain cases, depending on how fast you actually get through your exams. After which, you can go back to sea again. You are now eligible to get promoted to captain, but in a lot of cases, you're probably still sailing as a second mate. You've just gotten promoted to a chief mate, so this could still take another 3 to 4 years minimum before you can actually go to captain. Now, there are a ton of variables that also come in irrespective of all of this, which is basically between every ship, you're going to take a break. There are a lot of times that you go to a ship and you come back, but you don't have enough sea time to give your exams, so that's also another break. And these breaks are also really, really important. I mean, you have to spend time with your family. And yes, while life at sea is everything, you need to be able to enjoy your time with your family because that's the other part of your life, and your friends as a matter of fact as well. So you're going to have breaks between your ships. Another factor is the kind of ships that you work on. Now, if you're working on a chemical tanker or you're working on a dry cargo ship, which is a bulk carrier, the promotion requirements are very, very different. On certain ships, you can get promoted to chief mate and master a lot faster. On certain ships, you can't. Like, for example, on tanker ships, which is where I'm sailing, specifically chemical tankers, there are a lot of requirements that have to be fulfilled by a second officer before you can get promoted to chief mate. And there's even a larger requirement by a chief mate before you can get promoted to captain. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that dry cargo ships don't have requirements, but on tanker ships, we have vetting requirements, we have VIQ requirements, we have SIRE requirements, we have so many audits and inspections that take place, and all of them have a different requirement for the amount of experience you must have. It's really, really different. Another factor that will really influence how fast or slow you become a captain is the company that you're sailing on. Now, certain companies such as management companies are definitely better when it comes down to promotion because management companies work on a different model to ownership companies. Ownership companies will have their own perks, but they're a little slower with promotion. Now, that being said, both are good in their own way, but if you want to get promoted, it'll depend on what setup you're actually working on. Every company has their own different requirements basis where the company is from. If it's Norwegian or Singaporean or Danish, they also have additional requirements. It also comes down to the fleet that you're working on inside of the company basis the owners of the fleet and what requirements they have for promotion. So there's a lot of variables. But honestly, if you cut down your family life to a minimum and you clear your exams at your first shot and you end up working for a company that does promote really, really quickly, well, then you could probably become captain in 10 to 12 years when you start off as a cadet. And that's a ballpark figure. It's, again, like I said, it's extremely variable. How do you join the Merchant Navy as a cadet? 3 main ways that you can join the Merchant Navy. You can join as an engine cadet or you can join as a deck cadet. There are 2 ways that I know of as a deck cadet that you can join. Today we're not covering the engineering side, but I will have a special video for you guys with an engineer in the near future who can actually give you better information than I can. So we're going to cover the nautical side. You can join DNS, which is Diploma in Nautical Science, or you can join the BSc Nautical Science degree, which is another way of going about it. I personally have done DNS, which is Diploma in Nautical Science. Now, for Diploma in Nautical Science, there is an age limit. You're only eligible to do this course between the ages of 17 to 25. 25 is the cutoff limit for you to do this course, so you have to keep that in mind. You have to have 6x6 vision. You should have at least 65% in PCM in your 12th standard, and you also have to be English speaking. You should come from an English medium. Other than that, you also have to comply with the IMUC CET medical requirements. There are certain minimum medical fitness requirements that we have in this industry. It's very similar to what you have for airline pilots. So yeah, to comply with that. Now the medical requirements are really detailed, but I'm going to leave an IMU link in description for what requirements you need to be able to fulfill, and you should go through that. Definitely go through the requirements for medical before you even think about joining the Merchant Navy. DNS is a one-year course. What you need to do is you need to do your IMU CET. You have to go to the Indian Maritime University website, check out when the next CET is after 12th standard, and you have to give these exams. And once you give these exams, you're going to get a ranking system just like you have in other common entrance exams in India. After which, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to look for companies to sponsor you. Try and get any kind of sponsorship from any decent standard company in the industry. It's always better to have a sponsorship when you're going for your cadet training, because this is going to guarantee you placement on a ship after you finish your 1 year of DNS training. DNS is a 1-year process. It basically includes 2 semesters on land, and then you have to do 18 months at sea. Being said, it does not mean that you should not go for your pre-sea training without sponsorship. You can. A lot of people do it. Like I said, it's just beneficial for you if you can get sponsored by a company. So apply to any of the standard companies. If you want to know what companies are recognized by DG Shipping, just go onto the DG Shipping website. I'll leave a link in description. Now, the other way to do this is via BSc, which is Bachelor's in Nautical Science. It's a degree-based program, not a diploma-based program. The special part about BSc is that you do 3 years on land, so you get a graduation degree after it, which is also really beneficial. I actually have a couple of friends who have done BSc Nautical Science, so you can choose whichever one you like. And after you do your 3 years on land, you have to do 12 months as a cadet at sea, and the entry requirements are exactly the same as DNS. So as a breakout of the last question about how you join the Merchant Navy, a lot of people also ask me what maritime colleges would I suggest. A lot of great maritime colleges in this country. So with respect to colleges, I personally don't know every college in the country, and I don't know if they're good or not good, but there are a few colleges that I am aware of that I can tell you are fantastic, and if you join them, you're going to be trained with the highest quality of education in the maritime field. One is Anglo-Eastern Maritime Academy. Personally, I'm a cadet from Anglo-Eastern Maritime Academy, and I'm extremely proud to be trained by them. Amidst other academies that you can go to, TS Rahman, TS Chanakya, Tolani is one of the best institutes also in the country that you need to know about. So these are the institutes that I know of that I would recommend, but remember, there are more, and when you do apply to another institute, make sure it's approved by IMU and make sure it's approved by DG Shipping. Do your research, and it's only then that you should actually apply. Okay, how much do seafarers actually get paid when they're out at sea? Basically, with respect to seafarers, the ranges are really variable. So many factors that affect the salary that you get. It's crazy. Okay, so firstly is the kind of ship that you work on. The highest paid ships are obviously gas carriers, and then chemical tankers are all bulk carriers, container ships. Dry cargo ships are almost in the same league of each other, and tankers are also very close to each other. Tankers will always pay you a little bit more. Also, it depends on your rank and your nationality. Now, certain nationalities will get paid a little bit lesser, certain nationalities will get paid a little bit more, so there's nothing fixed. But since we're talking about Indian seafarers here, third mates and fourth engineers for beginners, they can get paid from $2,800 going up to $4,000 depending on the type of ship, the fleet, the owner, the company that you're sailing on. Second officers and your third engineers, second mates and third engineers can get anything between $4,000 to $5,000. Chief mates and our second engineers who can get anything between $8,000 to $10,000 per month, depending again on the variables that I mentioned. And then you have your masters and your chief engineers who can get from $10,000 to $14,000 a month, again depending on the kind of ships that you sail on. So nothing is fixed with respect to this. This is a general overview, and that's what the salaries are out at sea for officers and engineers. Also, another point that you have to keep in mind when you're looking at the maritime industry and the wages that we get paid on ships, you're not getting paid all year round. Well, there are certain companies that will break down your pay and pay you a certain amount when you're on land and on vacation, and also pay you while you're at sea, but that is basically a breakdown of your salary. They're going to reduce the amount of wages that you get at sea and give you a certain portion of it when you're on land. While it may look like an all-year pay, it is, but the amount of money that you earn annually is pretty much the same. There are variables, and certain companies do pay you slightly higher, but again, variables. Majority of the companies in the industry are only going to pay you when you're out at sea. When you're on vacation, you're not actually getting paid. So you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at salaries. Okay, pirate. Yes, they do exist. It is true. No, it's not like Captain Phillips. That happened a very long time ago. That happened back in 2009, you guys, and it's been a while. And of course, the industry has changed over time, and the maritime industry have taken special actions to protect their ships from piracy. That being said, it's not like it can't happen in the future. It can always get worse. Completely honest, at this given point in time, it is okay. It's not too bad. There are piracy attacks in certain parts of the world. There is a basic amount of threat, but it is under control. And to be completely honest, there are risks at every job. So it really comes down to your personal perspective. You can have risks absolutely everywhere. There are precautions taken everywhere, and things can still go wrong. Things aren't as bad as what they used to be, and it's definitely better. And would I sail in a piracy infested region? Yes. I trust my company, I trust my crew, I have to trust my captain, we have to keep training ourselves, we have to stay extra vigilant. It's really, really important. But all that being said, it's fine. You can get through it. It's doable. So don't worry about it. So that's basically it. These are the top 5 questions that you guys have been asking me over the last few months non-stop about the maritime industry. I hope this video brought you some value and made you understand a little bit more about the merchant navy. It's a fantastic profession. Life at sea really changes you completely as a person. You get to experience things that you would have never imagined. Make sure you follow all the guidelines put out by DG Shipping and IMU. It's a great industry. It's a great career. And I'm really privileged to be a part of this life. Hit that bell notification. Don't forget to subscribe. Definitely hit that like button because I am going back to sea in the near future. Also, we're going to continue with tech reviews. That's something that I'm passionate about. So you're going to get a lot of that from me on this channel. So stay tuned for more. This is Nitin Chawla. Thank you for watching. Peace.